Scripture trivia is by no means trivial. The story you just heard is told in all four of the Gospels, Matthew and Mark and Luke and John. This recounting from the life of this wild man from Nazareth is just that critical in his life and in ours that would show up 4 times in all 4 Gospels. If we take him seriously, there's obviously a message for us in this, and perhaps for the world. This one from John is different from the other 3 in one critical way: timing. When did this occur? The most significant difference between John and the other 3 Gospels is that John has this scene, this cleansing of the temple, at the very beginning of Jesus' public ministry. In John, Jesus picks his disciples, he changes water into wine, and boom, it's Passover. And Jesus is throwing tables around the sanctuary in the middle of chapter 2. For Matthew, Mark, and Luke, the cleansing of the temple is sort of the straw that broke the camel's back. Jesus was completing his ministry, and he comes to Jerusalem, really, to die. The cleansing is the last act of a defiant prophet. But for John, the meaning is completely different. Here, Jesus is just beginning his mission. And this is how Jesus announces himself to the people of Jerusalem. Really, this is how he announces himself to the people of Jerusalem. He turns over their tables, he releases their animals, and he makes a mess of business as usual. That's right. Make no mistake about it. For all the sincere religiosity of the temple, it was the biggest business in Jerusalem. Some scholars, in fact, think as much as 90% of the money that came into the city and to the people of Jerusalem, it had to do with religious pilgrimages to that temple. So when Jesus was taking a whip of cords and chasing the animals out of the temple, when Jesus overturned their tables and spilled their coins, he was striking at the heart of business as usual. You can understand how those who felt betrayed by the system, who didn't have a piece of the action, they would have instantly fallen in love with him. But then there were those folks who were working the system, who were making a lot of money from the system. And we can understand why they would be angry and scandalized and would do anything to get rid of Jesus. I think we can even see why the common, everyday temple goer, the temple goer who just went there to pray like we are this morning, the common, everyday temple goer who would have gone annually to make this pilgrimage, how much they would have been totally scandalized and upset. They just wanted to pray. They just wanted to make their pilgrimage. And here's some crazy man making a racket. And Jesus did it as his way of saying to the whole religious Israel, here I am. This is what I stand for. The end of business as usual. This is who I am. What I stand for. I stand for the end of business as usual. I wonder what we would have thought if we were one of those 3 groups. What side would we have been on? Here was this guy we've never heard of making a mess of this most sacred space in our history, shaking everyone up, knocking everything around. This is how Jesus tells the world who he is. I'll bet more than a few of us would have thought he went too far, would have thought he was crazy or fanatic. It's so easy, 2,000 years distant from that scene in the temple that day. And so we began after 2,000 years to imagine this cleansing in an overly sanitized way, as if Jesus were obviously doing the right thing and tripping up the bad guys. But I'm not so sure it's that simple. What if the temple were to represent our lives? What if Jesus did what he did in the temple, he actually also wants to do to you and to me? I think if we're not careful, we place ourselves too easily on Jesus' side. We picture ourselves as the good guys who are rooting for Jesus and who see the obvious corruption he's attempting to fight. But what if Jesus isn't fighting obvious corruption? What if what he's fighting is business as usual? What happens when Jesus walks into my business as usual and starts turning over my tables? What happens when I have my whole little plan all worked out for the day or for my life, and the Spirit of God barges in unannounced and turns everything upside down by telling me I no longer have a job, by ending a relationship that I loved, by revealing to me a whole mess in my family I didn't even know I had, by calling someone home in death, by something going wrong at school or with my family or with my friends. What is my reaction when it is not somebody else's temple, but my own life that is being turned upside down by the circumstances of my life? How do I react to my own life, my own business as usual, my own convenience, my own need for control, when that's being overturned? It's probably not all that different than I would have at the temple that day, I'd bet, 2,000 years ago. What if that is how God really introduces God's own self to us? What if God can't make us see rightly until our business as usual gets completely overturned? And what if that is the exact moment for which I am called to be grateful? Right then, right there. What if that's the precise moment with those tables overturned and everything I thought I needed, like the animals in those days were for those people of business? What if that was all taken away? What if that's the exact moment when I'm called to be grateful? The gospel today notes, after all, that many came to believe in Jesus precisely because he turned over their business as usual. I wonder if I could be that person who came to believe in him when my tables are turned upside down and when I can't do business as usual anymore. I wonder if that would be me and you. When all we have is the remains of the day, scattered and shattered, like what was left on the temple floor that day, like what this pandemic has left us with, like when we are found to be wrong, like when our dreams and our plans crumble into disappointment. I wonder if we could muster the courage to be grateful right then. I wonder if we could muster the courage to risk our old cliches. I wonder if we can live with our choices even if they didn't work out. I wonder if I could change my mind, if we could change our minds. Hardly ever. Surrounded by the shards of life, can I muster the presence of mind and heart to say, thank you, I needed this. I needed this end to my business as usual. We need to find that right now in the way we do race in our country. It can't be business as usual anymore, no matter what side we are, who we think's exaggerating. The truth is, we can't do business as usual like that anymore. Our politics, with these grand divisions between us and people taking one side or the other, and the lack of listening and the judgment and the shaming, we can't keep doing business as usual like this anymore in politics. Something has to change. How about religion? Religion is doing the same. One religion declares themselves to be better than the rest and then looks down in judgment on the others. And more pews are empty, not just because of COVID, but because something's different. Are we going to keep doing the same old, same old? Or are we taking the tips that is God saying to us, you can't keep doing what you've always done or you're going to always get what you got? The same with the CSC, the same with your family, the same with your businesses. The CSC spent a lot of time this past summer trying to renegotiate everything. We decided together we were not going to keep doing what we've always done. This generation is very different than they were before. And now again, all bets are off coming out of this pandemic. We just can't keep doing what we've always done and expect something new to happen. And it's the same in your marriages and our friendships. For sure, our own lives. It can't be business as usual, at least according to God. I just read a really sweet little book that somebody put into my hands. And I end with this quote from this little book. Truth is, when it's not business as usual anymore, the truth is everyone is winging it. And if that's true, we might as well start winging it. We might as well spread our wings and fly.